11. Gryph passed through another slice in reality and emerged onto a massive shelf carved into the side of a tall mountain. A range of smaller mountains split the sky as far as he could see. Sweat pooled on his body, and an intense glow came from behind him. He turned to see a huge forge fed by red-hot magma. With a jump of panic, he realized he was standing inside the cone of an active volcano. The sound of clanging metal rang in his ears, jarring his nerves. He turned and saw a lithe, red-haired woman banging away on an anvil. The large hammer she wielded seemed far too heavy for someone her size to lift, much less swing with such ease. Her rhythmic work sung to Gryph. Her timing was perfection, and Gryph hesitated to interrupt her. He waited, and after a few more moments, the woman laid her hammer down and turned towards Gryph. Tanned by fire and forge and covered in sweat, she was still stunning. She smiled at Gryph. He felt his heart jump. She walked up to him and held her hand out. "Welcome, Crusader. I am Helleracon, goddess of artifice and the forge. Blah, blah, blah." Gryph stared. "Well, don't leave me hanging, cute thing," Helleracon said with a smirk. Her manner was so different from the other gods he'd met so far that he didn't know how to respond. "Lex?" Gryph said, his eyes squinting down in suspicion. "No, sweetie, I told you. Helleracon, the goddess of artifice and the forge. Try to keep up. I make cool stuff for the other gods, and sometimes for you mere mortals. If you make it worth my while." She walked around Gryph, analyzing him like he was a prized breeding stallion. Gryph was starting to become uncomfortable when Helleracon smacked his ass and bit her lower lip. Do you greet every player this way?" Gryph asked. "Of course not. Do you think I'm some kind of floozy?" Well, just kidding, handsome. Relax. To answer your question, yes, I greet every player this way. This aspect of me is programmed to be a tad spicier than those other fellas." She did a dance that was far more appealing than it should have been. "Market research shows that players, even the female ones, like saucy minxes. I do so enjoy the role." Gryph said. "You're the first high elf I've seen come through here, and I gotta say, rawr. How'd you manage that one, Buddies with Alaron?" "Not exactly," Gryph began. "Yeah, I don't really care. Just making conversation. Something you should work on. I like conversation. I also like not talking, if you catch my drift. If you ever find yourself near the real Source Forge, look me up. I'm a girl who works hard and likes to play harder." The goddess's eyes lit with an internal flame as she ogled Gryph up and down. Gryph just stared in bewilderment. "Okay, you're a bit slow, but I can work with that. Anyway, guess we should get to it, huh? I bet you're excited to meet your banner NPC in the flesh." "I'd say, anxious," Gryph said. "Oh, he's one of them types. I get it. Well, good luck, honey, because once your new buddy is made, there ain't no refund." "Great," Gryph muttered, and turned with Helleracon towards a large set of gilded doors. "Drum roll, please," Helleracon said in a loud announcer voice, and the sound of deep bass drums emanated from nowhere and everywhere. Lexicon, banner NPC of Gryph of the Tasty Glutes, come on down. Gryph sent a sideways glance at the fiery goddess, but a loud clang of metal brought his attention back to the gilded entrance. A red light split them in two, and the massive doors opened. Illuminated from behind was a powerful figure of muscle and brawn. Shadows masked Lex's features, but the NPC strode forward with purpose. The new Lex seemed impressive. He was a broad-shouldered man dressed in flowing robes and carrying a large metal hammer. A long beard swung side to side as he approached. As the space between them diminished, Gryph realized that the distance had not been as large as it first seemed. As Lex got close, he could see his NPC's swagger diminish. Lex strode up with a scowl and smashed his hammer on the floor of the forge. His head barely came up to Gryph's chest. "You have got to be frickin' kidding me!" Lex said with a growl. "What the hell is this?" Gryph shrugged and tried to keep the grin from his face. "Hey, short stuff," Hellericon said. "How's the weather down there?" Lex raised his hammer, ready to crush her pretty red skull. Gryph stepped in and put a hand on Lex's shoulder. He bent down to get eye level with his NPC. Lex noticed. Buddy," Gryph said in the soothing tone one uses on a drunken friend. "I wouldn't do that. Goddess." Lex relaxed, lowering his hammer with a low grumble. "So, you look, good. What are you, hill dwarf?" "I'm an effing Ordonian." "Wait, aren't those the Viking dudes? Tallest race on Corin?" "Yes!" Lex howled in a rage. "Well, that's an average," Hellericon said. "You may be on the lower end, height-wise." "Lower? I'm only 5'2", Lex raged. "I'd say more like 5'1 3/4". Lex glared up at Hellericon, his face as red as her hair. "Hey, Love Muffin, don't blame me. I just build stuff. I'm not responsible for whatever this is." Lex bellowed and hefted his hammer over his head. He swung it down several times, smashing a crate of coal, a barrel of water, and a table covered in metal ingots. Gryph sent a nervous glance at Hellericon, but she seemed more amused than annoyed. "I see you like the hammer, though," she said. "I did make that for you." She held her hand palm up, and a golden apple appeared in a flash of light. A paring knife appeared in the other hand. Lex eyed her a moment before turning his gaze on the hammer. "Yeah, it's pretty good." Gryph walked up and put his arm around his NPC's shoulder. The sad look in Lex's eyes was hard to take. The banner had been his constant companion for over a year, and, for the first time, Gryph thought of him as human, with actual feelings. He made a promise to himself to treat the little guy with more respect. "Want to go get drunk?" Lex said. "May have to rethink that respect thing," Gryph thought. "Let's have a look at you," he said. Lex's eyes blanked as he turned his gaze inwards, analyzing his character sheet. Lex grunted in a tone that didn't sound thrilled. "What is it?" "It looks like I'm some kind of priest. My main affinity is for thought magic, and I worship some dude named Sarunian, whoever that is." "He's dead," Hellericon said, as if it were nothing. She sliced a piece of the apple and eased it past her full lips. "Dad?" Lex squealed in alarm. "Yeah, Dead. What do you mean, dead? Gryph asked. As in, dead. Helleracon twitched her neck to the side, closed her eyes, and pulled up on an imaginary noose that made her tongue loll out of her mouth. No longer in this world, pushing up the daisies, gone to meet his maker. How can I worship a dead god? Helleracon shrugged. Got me. Never met one. Great. So I'm a midget priest of a dead god. Technically, a midget is 4'10" or less, and I do believe that term has fallen out of favor, Helleracon said, slipping another slice of apple into her mouth with a crunch. Lex glared and hefted his hammer again. Let's not get caught up in semantics, Gryph said. Is there a way we can fix him? Fix me? Lex raged. There's nothing wrong with me. Gryph wasn't about to get into that debate and looked at Helleracon, repeating the question. Nope. I told you. No returns, no exchanges. Okay, buddy, Gryph said, stooping down to get eye level with Lex. There's gotta be a reason for all this. Always is, Helleracon said. The source always has its reasons. Gryph didn't know what to make of that and kept his attention on Lex. You and me, against the realms. Right, buddy? Gryph held out his hand, and, after a moment, Lex grumbled and took it. Gryph's massive hand swallowed up Lex's. This isn't helping, Lex said. Nor is the kneeling thing you got going on. Sorry, Gryph said, standing back at his full height. Or maybe it was, Lex muttered. Gryph sighed and returned his attention to the goddess. You said you had some gifts? Oh, yeah. Good memory you got, honey. She shook her shoulders, and much of the snark seemed to drain from her. She cleared her throat and started a speech that seemed both pre-written and filled with user agreement-style language. Congratulations, player, Helleracon said. As a purchaser of the deluxe beta pre-order, you have been awarded an upgraded starter pack. This includes a minor magic weapon, a minor piece of magical equipment, and a bonus potion pack. These items are influenced by your skill set and attribute points distribution trends. Note, in-game treasure and loot awards are also influenced by your skill set and attribute points distribution trends. Before Gryph had time to miss the real Helleracon, her old personality came back. 'Cause getting a kick-ass warhammer when you're a knives and spear guy would just be no fun, now would it? She winked at Lex, who scowled and gripped his hammer with white knuckles. Prompts filled Gryph's vision. You have been awarded an El Adrine Swift Spear. Spear. Item class. Base. Item category. Active. Base damage. 12. +2 base item bonus. Active powers. Power. 1. Quick Strike. 1% chance per point of mana spent to gain a second attack that automatically hits. Mana limit. 1%. Cooldown. 5 minutes. The preferred weapon of High Elf warriors, the Swift Spear is lightweight and imbued with powers that make it a weapon capable of dealing quick and deadly attacks. You have been awarded a Belt of Deftness. Item class, base. Item category, passive. Passive powers. Power, 1, +3 to dexterity. This fine leather belt was cured with an oil infused with quickvine sap. You have been awarded a Soul-Bound Satchel of Holding. Item class, base. Item category, passive. Passive powers. Power, 1. Weight reduction. Reduces the weight of stored items by 95%. Power, 2. Stasis field. Items will remain in their current state for as long as they remain in the satchel. Power, 3. Soul-bound. This item is soul-bound and cannot be lost or stolen. Power 4. Auto-sort. This item will automatically sort and categorize anything put into it. This fine leather satchel is, in fact, a portal to a pocket dimension. It can hold a vast amount of inventory and is useful for hauling loot and treasure. You have been awarded a bonus potion pack. 2 potions of minor health, 50 points to health, 2 potions of minor stamina, 50 points to stamina, 2 potions of minor mana, 50 points to mana, 1 potion of cure disease. Sweet toys, dude, Lex said. Gryph glanced into his satchel to see he also had a coil of rope, 5 standard rations, a torch, a locksmith kit, and a bag that contained 10 gold coins, whose value he didn't understand how to calculate in real-world terms. Gryph smiled down, but had to admit the equipment was pretty impressive. Your very own Boy Scout survival pack, Lex said. Now that you've both got your gift baskets, it's time for you to move on. The boss wants to give you a nice send-off. The world around Gryph and Lex faded, and a dim new one came to the fore. It was as if they transitioned to a new scene in a movie in a dissolve. Gryph watched Hellericon sway away. She must have felt his gaze because she looked back over her shoulder and gave him a wink. Then Hellericon and the Source Forge disappeared, and Gryph was back atop the mountain overlooking the world. Are you ready, player? A familiar and unwelcome voice boomed.